I present to all of you a system that was specifically put in place for an industry that's been enjoyed by billions across the entire world, that's been carefully manufactured and designed to ensure that it damns the many and benefits the few. All for greed and control, and unfortunately the ESA is one of those people, once you pull back the curtain, will be one of the people behind this entire thing as a puppet master, trying to go and use some kind of law that was passed 15 years ago and labeling everything that's going on right now as being hacking. You see, preservation has become one of the most important and central things into making sure that key titles, consoles, franchises live on well into the future for many generations to be able to enjoy, rather than just become forgotten relics that only a few people may know about from memories, and only that. There's going to be many PC, console, handheld, and arcade games that are no longer going to be playable or even easy to find for everyone out there, and if they're no longer being manufactured in a digital form, made available online by the people who actually own the rights to them, then what other way is there to be able to obtain these titles and try them out, or to learn from them, or anything around them? We've had archivists and researchers, entire communities of fans trying to make sure that these things are preserved and they live on, yet they're trying to say that this is somehow some evil fucking thing. And it's absolutely ridiculous. They've even gone so far as to say some of the people who've utilized consoles, hacked and modified consoles, keep in mind I've made videos about that, were actual people who have been making great strides within scientific research and all sorts of other shit. They're trying to say that they shouldn't be allowed to do that whatsoever anymore due to this, in addition. So, I have to ask this. Where exactly does this end, and who is this, exactly, any of this, who is this bothering? That's what I want to know. What individuals is this hurting? That's the only thing that I'm trying to understand and wrap my brain around. You no longer manufactured arcades, and arcades don't actually really exist anymore, but they accept few that are out there in the rare occasion. But where are anybody else going to find these kind of titles? If it wasn't for things like MAME, and keep in mind it's just one of many examples, if it wasn't for things such as MAME, many people wouldn't have been able to try out these titles. The people that own intellectual property rights to these games don't do anything with them and just sit on them. They don't do shit with them. So fans had to get up and do something because they cared. It's an industry that's a lot bigger than you, everybody that's working at the ESA, and don't worry, I'm going to ensure that I'm tweeting all of this to you, and I think that everybody else should speak directly to you. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of other industry experts who are going far out of their way to make sure that they can continue to do this because it's important. That's where I become extremely confused by this entire notion that you're trying to say that all this stuff should be shut down. As a matter of fact, recently, and keep in mind that there's going to be links to all this stuff in the description, so if you want, click on them, because education and information is very, very nice. But interestingly enough, recently a whole bunch of MS-DOS games were made available, and keep in mind MS-DOS, and we're talking about an operating system many years ago, things that were set up in like the 80s and stuff, no longer are playable on current systems. So what other way to make them available but to go and do it this way, through emulation. Preserve them, archive them, and put them online so that they're still available to everybody. And the reason is because they're no longer manufactured for everybody to go and play. That makes sense. If there's an individual title out there and a developer still owns the key rights to them and they're still making it widely available and they say, hey, could you take that down because it actually does take a cut in our profits, I could understand something like that. That makes sense, because then and only then would it actually be hurting somebody. Otherwise, all this shit doesn't bother an industry whatsoever and just continues to make sure that it can grow and it can learn from the past, and there's plenty of people out there, young and old, that want to go back and play older titles. Plenty. Because they're still fun. It's like old movies, old music, old books. It doesn't matter. Any form of entertainment, doesn't matter to age, is still able to be enjoyed by anybody from any generation, from any year, from any age, from any gender, from any part of the country, no matter what. And that's the entire point to this. Applying this kind of logic to anything else, if I went to a museum, took everything down, and put it inside of a vault at some kind of bank and just hid it there, people would be kind of bummed out because they'd want to go and see the beauty behind that art. They'd want to be able to get invested in what the hell the artist was trying to go and portray within a painting. You know, they want to go and see that sculpture in person and appreciate it. Oh wait, no, we can't go and do something like that, right? Don't upload pictures online of it, even though we took it away from you. We had to go and hide it from the world. Who the fuck is this hurting exactly? That's what I ask. And I boil it down to control and greed and nothing else and nothing more, but even then the greed part doesn't make any fucking sense to me, because who the hell is losing money on this if you're not making it available? I'm not talking about a bunch of PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Wii U games being emulated and tossed online or some goddamn ass-backwards logic shit like that. I'm talking about old-ass titles that aren't around anymore. These are important. Keep in mind, if it wasn't for emulation, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy tons of titles out there that I can't actually get my hands on. One of my all-time favorite games is Snatcher on Sega CD. You want to know what? I never came across the game in person ever for years. I couldn't afford it. Eventually I did get my own copy, but I played through and beat the game twice through emulation, thankfully. And you want to know how that could have been sidestepped? If Konami went and made it available, but they don't. They just ignore it. Plenty of companies out there do that. And guess what? I'm not just singling them out. I'm talking about companies who have dried up and gone away. And then all of a sudden, those rights were bought up for all those intellectual properties of all those different franchises and games and stuff, and they're just sitting somewhere dormant, doing nothing. And this stuff is just nuts, to even go and think that somebody has the audacity and the gall to go and pull some shit like this. And this is an industry that is yours. Keep that in mind. It is your industry. You should care about this. You should want to say something about this. Because even though you may say, well, I don't care about those old games, the games you're playing right now eventually will become those old games. Make no mistake about it. They will eventually become the old games, and you'll wish that they were still around. You'll wish there was still a way for it. Trust me, this shit all comes full circle. So don't get shit confused. This shit will eventually catch up to you. By all means, please say something to them. I'm speaking out because I think that everybody should be well aware of this. I think this is absolutely ridiculous, and I think it's heinous. I mean, the idea that, again, somebody has audacity to do this, ridiculous. In every single sense of the word. Either way, that's my opinions on everything. All the links are down below. Speak out against this if you feel strongly against it, because, well, your voice actually matters. Because, like I said, it is your industry, so you should actually try to fight for it.